Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and today we have a giant Spotlight Cache preview. We've got all the Spotlight Caches for the month of October, Elsa Bloodstone, numerous decks, more decks than you can shake a witch hunting rifle at, Thanos decks, X-23 decks, Echo decks, and a review slash preview of all the cards that have been spoiled for this season. Let's get started with asking you to subscribe. If you're willing to hit that sub button, we give you at least 2 brand new decks, proven decks that get infinity borders, climb into high infinite every single weekday. Decks that you can't find anywhere else before they hit the meta so that you can succeed with them. In addition, subscribing is totally free. It super duper helps us out. Leaving those comments, helping us with that algorithm. Free for you, helps us, and we'll do our best to bring you the best content we can. Our new card is Elsa Bloodstone. She is Series 5 Season Pass. I guess she's technically not Series 5 until she's out, but she is a triggered ability, not an ongoing, not an on-reveal, a triggered ability. If you play another card to fill a location, give it +3 power. And for a little bit, we thought she would have to be played the turn before the card that fills the lane. It looks like nope, as long as she is revealed first and not the card that fills the location, that card is going to get +3 power. That's awesome. She's going to be an absolutely meta card fundamentally immediately. The obvious synergy is Kitty Pryde because you can fill a location over and over again for +3 power each time. But think about a Sarah deck if you're lucky enough to not see Mobius, where you can get her out and then fill every location for she's going to be a 2/8 basically every game, and very often a 2/11, 2/14, 2/6, 2/17. This seems like a card that's going to have to get nerfed. And before everyone goes, they're releasing season pass cards too strong to get nerfed. I mean, we just finished Loki, which is definitely true, right? But remember, the community did not think Loki was going to be good. We are often wrong. And the season before was Dakin, not broken. The season before that was Phoenix Force, not broken. The season pass before that was Ghost Spider, not broken. We had Nebula, who was very good. We had Nimrod, who had to be buffed because he wasn't that good. We had MODOK, who's very good, but not backbreaking, right? Like, they're not releasing season pass cards in a busted state as a regular thing, at least since Zabu and Silver Surfer came out back to back. Perhaps the new Zabu and Silver Surfer are Loki and Elsa, but let's wait and see a little bit before we start yelling. Please? Thanks. Okay, some of you decide to buy based on variants. These are the only 3 variants released. We've got Lim releasing the same day as the card. Looks like Elsa's at a party here. This actually just looks like a cartoon character. I appreciate the guns. I don't love the art. I think it's a reasonably cool. At least it's a fairly action, even if she is posing. Hips are the best. If this is in my shop, I'm buying it. As always, I will play a hip over basically anything. It's a really cool hip. And for those who like art term, someone named Howl, even though it doesn't have a release date, has this Elsa Bloodstone. It would not shock me if eventually this was a Spotlight Cache, though, when Elsa comes back around, for those of you who don't buy the Season Pass. The Season Pass variant, the one you get if you buy the Season Pass, as long as you get to level 50 of it, is this one. I think it's reasonably cool. She's jumping and shooting. I don't love the face. It looks kind of sterile for such an actiony pose. But the 2 big guns, the vampire-y look, I'm for it. I think it's pretty good. It's no hip, but it's really good art. So we've got Elsa with basically in all of these red hair and a ponytail, her trademark, and a gun or a couple of guns. Very cool. Very cool. Fits the character, suits the character. If you are curious about the character, she's been in a lot of like horror themed comics, but what she's most known for is a comic called Next Wave, which is completely hilarious and worth checking out if you ever want to. All right, Elsa's synergies. We've got Kitty Pryde and Bounce. That makes perfect sense. You can fill lanes over and over again, making Elsa completely bonkers in terms of power. It's going to be great. You've got Spider-Man, Jeff, and Move, similar to Bounce. Bounce returns it to your hand. The move cards move to other locations. You can play Jeff into a location and then move him out and then fill that location with something else, getting the +6 and then refilling the Jeff location to make it +9. Seems good. Brood, Doom, Squirrel Girl, Mysterio are go wide cards. It's worth noting that those are not played, so the play of Brood, Doom, and Squirrel Girl will not get the +3, but Mysterio, which plays itself, will. So welcome back to the top of the meta, Mysterio. If you Bast and then Mysterio to fill the location, That is 6 power Mysterios, which is amazing. That's a 218. Seems like that's probably pretty good and gonna win a lot of games of Snap, right? I agree. All right. We've got Hitmonkey, Wasp, Go Wide cards. I shared that deck earlier today where it's basically a Hitmonkey Mysterio deck that runs Yellow Jacket, Thor, Jane Foster, and Wasp. To say, okay, I can basically always fill all the locations. I can always make Hitmonkey huge. Those cards with Wasp seem really, really strong. Like absolutely a combo worth exploring, a thing worth doing. Um, that's going to be my first real home for the card. We've got cost reduction like Sarah, which will give you the opportunity to do this stuff to fill out the locations. It's worth knowing that Mobius will stop Sarah, and you're probably going to want Mobius yourself. Shadow King is going to be like a necessity to stop Elsa for a while. Last turn, Shadow King is going to blow out a lot of Elsa decks, which means that Luke Cage will be in a lot of Elsa Bloodstone decks, at least for the first little bit. So be ready for the Shadow King versus Luke Cage portion of the meta. We're going to look at a whole bunch of Elsa decks going forward. If you would like your own personal Elsa deck made, please hop on the Marvel Snap Zone Discord, check out the podcast chat with the host section where we hang out, and we will personally help you out with Elsa decks based on your specific collection. But also, if you are not Series 3 complete, a member of our Discord has created this like tracker that will basically look at your spending habits in the game. You input your spending habits, you input where you are in collection, and it tells you how long before your Series 3 and game complete. So we're looking for people to try that out with. So please check out the Discord so that you can be one of the people that tries that out. We want to make sure it works so that we can release it to the public. Our first deck I built with Lambie. Lambie, by the way, is the best player in Snap. Sorry, not sorry. He's also coming on the podcast next week. This week, we've got Interrobang. Next week, we've got Lambie. Get excited. We've got other guests too, but we had to shuffle around a couple guests for someone who ended up busy. We got Prashan, I believe, this week as well, and Peaceful Sea next week as well. Again, we had to shuffle up because someone had to change, but those are going to be incredible episodes. Okay. This is your basic bounce deck. This is going to be completely nuts. I don't think with Elsa you even need Iron Man, but hey, if Iron Man's the last card in a lane, Iron Man as a 5/3, basically a 5/6 that doubles everything else is going to be great. Bast hits everything in the deck but Beast positively because America will never be in hand when you Bast if she's a relevant card to play. Elsa can trigger your kitties and Nightcrawlers multiple times. Before Elsa, that was Jeff and Iceman in this deck, but you need a 2's drop for bot for Elsa, so that became Jeff, and then Nightcrawler does a similar enough job, and if Nightcrawler's a 1/5 that can then move, that's absolutely nuts. You could even be a 1/6 with Bast, which is basically what Jeff would be. Bishop's going to get huge, Hitmonkey's going to get huge, your Mysterio can be 218. This deck is going to be sick. It's very hard for me to imagine this not being the return of the bounce meta, even if this isn't the exact build. I'm telling you right now, I'm thinking I might end up cutting Iron Man, and I'm looking, I think, at Hawkeye. Next up, we have Glenn Jones' Infinite deck. This is the deck I talked about earlier, the one I shared. I cut Bishop for Lizard, and I run Shadow King in mine. So I think you probably still want Lizard and Shadow King, but, figure it out as far as your cards go. You can always keep Bishop, cut Thor, and then add Bast. There's a million ways to do this. You can ditch armor, but basically this deck wants to gain power early, playing cards like Angela, Bishop, Thor, and then end the game with Mysterio, Zeros, Hitmonkey, and Kitty, and go to town. Like, this deck is going to be sick. I got to game 5 with my version of this game 5 of Infinity, and the only serious Infinity run I did last season / this season, depending on when you're watching this. This deck is sick. Do not sleep on it because it looks like a meme. It is absolutely not. Excuse me. One more change. Armor needs to be Mobius. You need to run Mobius and Mobius in this, so Wave doesn't ruin your life. But as long as you do that, as long as you have Mobius, And again, buy your season passes. See how Hitmonkey is here? $10 for Hitmonkey is a lot less money and effort than the Spotlight caches or tokens. It's worth it. It's great. Next up, we have Lambie's Mountain Bloodstone. There was a kitty deck forever, basically, that was running Kitty Pride, and then buffing it with Forge, Hulkbuster, and Shuri, and then copying it with Taskmaster. That deck still exists, except now it's got Elsa too. Elsa basically acts as an extra Forge for Kitty, right? So now you want to try to do as much of this as possible in one lane, where you want to go like Kitty into Angela into Forge and Kitty into Elsa and Kitty. And then you're just going to start chunking up that power on Kitty Pride. You might be able to cut Hulkbuster, but with Kitty being a 0, I'm not sure. I hope this deck isn't good because this deck is extraordinarily hard to interact with, but it is an extremely, extremely powerful thing to do because it has the backup plan of just going Shuri Red Skull Taskmaster or Shuri Vision Taskmaster. Next up, we have the Loki All-In. I see very little reason for Loki All-In not to run Elsa for the same reason it ran Angela. In fact, it might even cut Angela for Elsa. Here, you're basically saying, well, if Loki's and Quinjet are going to make everything cheap, Elsa is going to be a 2-8 basically every game, right? At the least, Elsa is going to be a 2-8. And you've got Kitty for the games you don't Loki to go wide, right? This should be plenty of freaking power. I think there are probably other versions of this, but this is the one that was meta for so long, so it's the place that we're going to start for the game for this deck. Next up, we have Miracle King. I think again, Shadow King is going to be really, really great in the meta. So this one is trying to get a last turn miracle going with Mobius and Sarah, Rogue to help protect your Mobius / turn off their Mobius, and at that point your Sarah should basically be dominant. If you've got your Angela out, so on, you can Elsa fill up a bunch of locations. You've got the Mysterio Hitmonkey thing. You've got Shadow King. If Shadow King is too hard to do, you may end up cutting Jeff for Luke Cage here. It's totally fine. You may end up even cutting Shang for like Bast here because Bast has so many good hits. This deck, I think, is going to be really, really strong and really hard to beat. We have Den Movlioth. I think Elsa is a reasonable shout here. Again, I told you a move deck would make sense, so here's what I'm starting with. Where you just basically go, okay, I'm gonna go Raven into whatever Spider-Man, right? Or Craven into Jeff, and then I can drop Elsa and Nightcrawler, Elsa and Mobius, Elsa and whatever, and you're just gonna get a bunch of extra power that way. Extra power is good, right? Like that's the entire theory of this deck. You fill the lane, you get the extra power. Doom won't get the extra power for his Doom bots, but if Doom is the last card, he's 6/8 that makes extra 5. Seems pretty damn solid too. The original move deck should also be good. It actually might even be better because it's got Kitty in it, and Kitty, as we've noted over and over, is really good. This version is, again, probably going to want to fit Mobius if you had it, but I didn't want to put Mobius in everything. Kind of, just be like, did you know Mobius is good? We kind of get it, right? This version often runs Vision. Sometimes it runs Legion. Doesn't really matter. It should be completely sick either way. You should be able to make Spider-Man, Silk, and Jeff, along with Kitty and Nightcrawler, be +3 power. And like that's just bonkers. Those cards are not made with their powerful abilities to have that high power. So that's the power of Elsa. Finally, we have Iron Patriot. Brood and Absorbing Man are going to basically almost fill a lane, right? They get you one away from filling those lanes. And at that point, a 3/4 Patriot or a 3/5 Surfer are pretty freaking good cards, right? You can also, like, if you Forge Brood, then you Absorbing Man, you can drop an Iron Man as a 5/3 and just basically lock up one of those lanes. Iron Lad is a 4/9, Doom is a 5/8, 6/8 Alioth. All these are just silly, silly, silly ways to play Marvel Snap. Remember that Brood and Absorbing Man won't, as far as we know, get that bonus from their Broodlings / Absorbing Manlings, but there's enough else here to do. Finally, we have Sarah Surfer, same basic theory as the previous Iron Patriot list, except this one's going more all in on Surfer. Should work just fine. You again may want Mobius, you may just cut Sarah, right? And just go extra 3s. Run, for example, Snowguard and get 2 free extra 3s on top of it that can fill locations and gain the +3 power. Polaris to fill their location without triggering their Elsa seems like it's really strong. Same concept for Spider-Man. Everything else here should be relatively self-explanatory. Finally, she's pushed as heck. She is at least good. If she's not busted, she is at least good. If you trigger her twice, that's a 2/8. 2/8 is stellar stats. You can abuse her for more than that if she's a 2/11, 2/14. Come on. Plus, for buying her, you get 1,500 gold, 4 extra variants, and it's one less Series 5 card to worry about later. We announced our winners for season passes. We gave away 15 this season. We're probably around the middle of the season going to give away a few more. Sub, don't miss out. But like, you need to get this card. If you can afford it, buy it. It's worth it. Spotlight caches for the week, along with Elsa. There is no new card, but there is a really cool Thanos, an Echo that I'm up and down on, and possibly the best X-23, the Wolverine variant with the classic uniform. One day I will figure out why I hate Logan in the yellow and blue, but love him in the brown and gold. But I think X-23 is absolutely perfect in the yellow and blue and the gold and blue. Decent Phoenix, Echo Phoenix, and a really, really cool Thanos, but you know, there's no butterfly in it, so how good could it be? Actually, I guess before we go further, we're going to talk, just so you know, we're going to talk about these cards and what decks they go in later. But before we decide to open or not, we need to look at the rest of the month and figure out what our plan is for Spotlight caches. So I'm going to say right now, so in case you stop watching, right? If you like Destroy, you need X-23. And if you don't have Thanos, you should probably just get Thanos. Thanos is worth owning. It is one of the, it's not in the meta right now, but like every time it's not in the meta right now, it ends up in the meta relatively soon. Betcha Thanos is probably fine with probably totally fine with Elsa too. Stones that get +3 power are probably pretty damn right. Thanos is great. It's worth owning. It's never going to be cheaper. It's again, like, unless there's something else coming that we really, really have to have, getting Thanos in X-23 is probably worth it. And Echo Series 5, even if she's not the best card in the game. Right. Man Thing is a Series 4, 3,000 tokens. Ongoing 1, 2, and 3 cost cards have -2 power. This is going to be good. Is it going to be great? Is it going to be broken? No, I don't think so. It affects your cards too, which really, really hurts it. It'll be good when Annihilatus comes out in a month. Annihilatus basically says all the -1, 2, and all the cards that have 1 or less power either jump to your opponent's side or destroy themselves. Man Thing is really good with that card in particular. It's Series 4, it's 3,000 tokens. If you're going to get it with tokens in all likelihood. But I told you I expected a lot of Shadow King, which means I also expect a lot of Luke Cage. And if there's Luke Cage in the meta, this is a bad card. It's going to probably be good. We're going to talk about how to build it with High Evolutionary next week when we do our full Spotlight Cache guide on Man Thing in particular. We'll look at all the different builds for him, but I think he's at best a mid card. Sorry. I do love that Spotlight variant of Man Thing with the wizardness. Lady Deathstrike is a card you don't need. It's a decent card. I really like this art for Lady Deathstrike, but it's a decent card. It's not a necessity. And I think Silver Samurai is great. I think Silver Samurai was borderline ready to be a meta card before Loki chased it away. It's still a really good card. Check out Kraken Null's builds, which we featured over the course of the month, last month on the channel, to really, really see what to do with Silver Samurai. But at the end of the day, like, this is probably a week to just save up unless you're like dying for Samurai, because you don't need Deathstrike and you can just get Man Thing with tokens. Remember, you want your spotlights to be Series 5 cards where possible. Series 4 cards you buy with tokens. Next up, we have Black Knight, 1017. Series 6. Series 5, 6,000 tokens. After you discard a card, add the Ebony Blade to your hand with that card's power. Ebony Blade costs 4, which means that if you can discard a Infinite, you have a 420 that you can then immediately copy with Taskmaster. That's like the dream. It's usually not going to happen, but that's the dream. Without doing any extra work, you can throw Black Knight, and the name of this card is now gone from my brain. If you're running Quinjet, it's even better. If you're running Quinjet or Zabu, it's going to get cheaper. But the card whose name I'm looking for is Black Cat. There we go. Black Cat will discard herself as long as Black Knight is out. You've got a 4/9 in your hand. that you can then make like a 2/9. It's going to be stellar. It's going to be like crazy, crazy powerful. Again, Shadow King will mess it up, but this is like the one drop auto include that discard decks have been waiting for. There's a lot to like here for like the tempo discards, if not necessarily the Dracula discards, which are the ones that are trying to run like a super high powered only Apocalypse in hand, right? Like that's not where this wants to be. But your other discard decks are going to be great with this. The ones that are running Ghost Rider, the ones that are running Silver Samurai, really, really like Black Knight. So Black Knight's going to be a very powerful card, especially for a one drop. All he has to do is stay on the board to do his thing, and he's easy to fit into the curve. A lot of people don't like him. I think they're wrong. I think they're sleeping on all the different options that he offers you. Decent Black Knight Spotlight variant. Again, little plastic on the face. This kind of looks like a He-Man character to me. Not bad. I don't like this stature. I don't know what's up with this perspective. It looks weird. I get that it's trying to make her look big, but it looks weird. And this Modok is fine, I guess. I don't super want a realistic Modok, and I think there's several better Modoks. Look, Black Knight is Series 5. If you want to play discard, you must have Modok. And if you want to play a Black Knight style deck, you probably also want stature. So there's a lot to like this week if you're opening. I'm very likely just going to use tokens for this because I don't really want either of these variants, and I'd rather not waste it, and I have the tokens. But I think Black Knight is worth having if you have any interest in discard, if you like playing cards like Ghost Rider. Because like if whatchamacallit, if you have Black Knight out, right, and Black Cat discards yourself, you can then have a Ghost Rider be a 4/12, and then you also have a 4/9 to play. And that seems, I don't know, like pretty damn good in Marvel Snap, right? We have Nico Minoru. She is Series 5, 6,000 tokens. She's a 1/2. She comes out 10/24. She is on reveal. After you play her next card, cast a spell. So how this is going to work, we think, is every turn while she's in your hand, the spell she is changes, and when you play it, that's the spell that's active. So if you bounce her, she can be more than one spell, and that will change again, but it's completely random what it changes to and how much it changes. Let's look through the spells and talk about what they do and whether she's worth it. So, after you play your next card, it becomes a demon. So you can play like a Hood. Hood will trigger, make yourself a demon, and then it'll become a demon. That seems good. Destroy a card to draw to. Again, also good with Hood. Move it to the right. Maybe it's time for that bounce and move deck, perhaps. +2 power. Again, bounce and move, really good. Really good with a card like Kitty Pryde. Replace the card's location. It basically becomes Scarlet Witch for a turn. The next card is also Scarlet Witch. Seems decent. Not incredible, but decent. Add a copy to your hand. Seems like it's super strong if you're smart about what you play it with. And double this card's power. And I'm pretty sure this card means Nico becomes a 1/4, which is like firmly mid, but hey, in a bounce deck, a 1/4 is still pretty good. I think this is going to be a good card in bounce. Ultimately, is it going to be a necessity? No, probably not. But it's powerful and it's extremely hard to play around for your opponent. So it's going to be a good card. If you can play it 2 or 3 times, right? Like it's gonna win some games of Snap, but it's also sometimes you're gonna wait and wait and wait. It's not gonna be what you want it to be. If you can get double this card's power twice, a 1/8, now we're starting to talk. But like it's gonna be so rare that you actually get that kind of combo off with Nico. So I don't know. I think it's a good card, but it's not gonna be meta defining. I am almost certainly opening for this card. I'm never against having an extra kitty variant, and this is a particularly good one, Peach Momoko art. I love my Dan hips. I think this is the single least attractive hip in the game. No offense, Dan, you know it's my favorite. I think this is the least attractive hip in the game, but it's a hip, so if I happen to open it, I won't be sad. I don't think you need this card. I don't think this card is a necessity. It's good, but I don't think it makes every bounce deck. I'm not sure it's right even in bounce in general. It's just a good card. Finally, we have Werewolf by Night. If this releases as a 3/3, the video did not show its power and cost. This is from data mines. If it releases a 3/3, this is one of the best cards in the game, and Surfer is meta again. After you play an unrevealed card in another location, move there and gain 2 power. It is my current belief that even if Cosmo is in a location, you still played an on-reveal card there. It just didn't resolve. You staged an on-reveal card there, right? So it's going to get 2 power that way. It's very often going to be a 3/7, 3/9, and then if you Surfer it, 3/11. It's going to be hard to control. If you're running a card like Craven, it's going to really take advantage of it. If you're running Miles Morales, it's going to really take advantage of it. This is the card Move was waiting for. I don't think you need to bounce it or do anything silly. You just play like a normal good surfer deck, and Werewolf by Night will win you the game. Because like it's like, all right, I played Spider-Man here. It's gonna move to the Spider-Man location that Spider-Man just vacated, right? Then you Polaris elsewhere, and now it's gonna get an extra, right? And then you Brood, and it's gonna jump over to the Brood, and that Brood lane is now like uncontestable. And then you can Surfer, and now like that Surfer lane is huge with all these cards. It's gonna be a nuts good card. I'm a very, very big Werewolf by Night fan. I think this is going to be the best card of the season, which is nice because it comes with the other two move cards you really need. Ghost Spider and Werewolf by Night have weird non-synergy, right? You drop Ghost Spider and then Werewolf by Night is going to move there, but it was going to move there anyway. So it just gets the +2 power, but like you don't get the extra move. You can, however, play other cards in between them, pull another card over to Ghost Spider, and Werewolf by Night will also run over to that location. Pretty good. Silk is damn near a must-have card at this point. It's in so many tier 1 decks. This is one to open, and this is again the Series 5 card, so you're opening on Halloween. Also worth noting, this is a 5-week season, as you can tell by the number of cards. This is a patch week. Although you have all month to save for this, if it's going to depend if you want Black Knight, whether you should open at the beginning of the month or not. If you want Black Knight, you probably want to pass on Thanos. If not, you buy Thanos and then you save for Werewolf by Night. You should be set. That should be all you really need for this month. And you get the added bonus of Silk and Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider's in a lot of decks I really like right now running Phoenix. And again, Silk is a super meta card. Very meta card. Let's see if the patch changes any of this, if any OTAs change any of this. I'm sure they will, but keep it here on Snap Judgments, and we'll keep you up to date with all that stuff as well. Finally, Spotlight card Thanos. You've got Series 5, 6,000 tokens, big bad, which means he will never come down from Series 5 as far as we know. At the start of the game, shuffle 6 Infinity Stones into your deck. They are the Mind Stone, 1/1, draws 2 Infinity Stones. The Soul Stone, 1/1, ongoing, no draw, -1 to opponent cards here. The Power Stone, 1/3, if you've played all the stones, give Thanos +10 power. The Mind Soul Reality Stone, 1/1 draw card. It's basically Scarlet Witch. And the Time Stone, which is the best of them, 1/1 +1 energy and draw a card. So you've got the Infinity Stones that are and Space Stone, excuse me, 1/1. And basically you can move a card to draw a card, and you can move a card to that location. That's the 6th one. Thanos is great. It's been the best card in the meta on no less than 4 separate occasions. So is it great right now? I don't actually think so, but we're never very far from someone discovering something broken to do with this card. This is the best deck, the highest win rate deck I've seen of that with Thanos right now. This is our friend W's style deck. He's the one who started running Psylocke and Thanos along with Time Stone to basically be able to Professor X. This one runs Angela and Vision as a way to get some extra power on the board. Professor X to hopefully steal a lane, Iron Lad to help steal a lane, Shang-Chi, Thanos. You can consider running Alioth in this deck if you'd like to. If you get that early Professor X, Alioth is completely freaking backbreaking. Cosmo does a great job of protecting you from opposing Alioth so that you can win the game with your, say, Devil Dinosaur, Vision, whatever. It's a very good deck. It's not meta. It's not the best thing you can be doing, but it is still a mid 50% win rate deck worth playing. Echo, Series 5, 6,000 tokens. After your opponent plays an ongoing here, remove its abilities. It's largely a preventative card. Great animation where it like stomps out the ongoing. A smart opponent can use it to their advantage with a card like Lizard or Red Skull. But what you're really trying to do is like snipe a card like Mobius or something with priority, which is hard to do. It's a firmly mid card. It's not like one of the best things in the game, but it's good. It's a good little card that has its home occasionally. And its main home, I think, is the Hella Tribunal list, where it says, I don't want to deal with your Cosmo bullshit. Where you go Echo, Invisible Woman, and then you drop MODOK and Hela in that lane, unless they have a move card to mess with you. MODOK and Hela go off, and then you just have a ton of stuff. Deck is really good. It's consistent. Props to Safety Blade, the original maker of this deck. Lots of people I've seen take credit for it. Safety had this deck when Tribunal was still a 6/6. Echo was Howard in the deck at that point. Crystal wasn't buffed in the deck at all. But like the basic core of this deck, that's Iron Man, with Tribunal and Onslaught, with Hela and MODOK as like this giant combo with Magic and Electro, and Infinite. So Crystal and Giganto were the cards that changed in it. Magic and Tribunal were here pre were a safety special. Props to safety for this brilliant deck. Look, know your meta. If your opponents aren't playing a ton of move, this is absolutely bonkers. Be wary because like Alioth can kill through your stuff, right? But short of that, this is going to be very, very hard to beat. Finally, we have X23, Series 5, 6,000 tokens. When this is discarded or destroyed, regenerated around location, get +1 energy. Energy cheat is good, y'all, especially in destroy decks, which often struggle for energy, and discard decks, which can really take advantage of that +1. When you get X23 out, you can win a game. It lets you do things like Deadpool and Null on the last turn of the game, which is backbreaking. This is the highest win rate version of the deck right now. It's got Death. Death is probably bad right now and should maybe be Alioth, but with this kind of deck, you can usually get deck cheap relatively early and just drop Death on like turn 5, which has, pretty good value. 5/12 is nice. And then you can drop Null on the last turn. You get a lot of tempo out of cards like Bucky and Wolverine. And if you can get Bucky and Wolverine good, if you can get Forge and Deadpool good, you have enough power. Like if they destroy Death and Null just eats that, it's great. X23 again allows you that last turn extra energy play to win the game of a Snap. If you do happen to get Lady Deathstrike may have a home here because your Lady Deathstrike basically always eats your opponent's Mobius. And if you can eat your opponent's Mobius, your death is great. It's got some value there. Other than that, meh. I think this is a very good deck. It continues to win at a high rate, particularly on ladder. It's not as good on Conquest. All right, should I open this week? I think if you need Thanos, you probably should. I think Thanos and X23 are probably better than everything this month except Elsa, which you can't get in spotlights, and Werewolf by Night, which you can get at the end of the month and have enough time to save up spotlights. So I believe that you are meant to open this week. The correct thing to do would be to open for X23 and Thanos. If you get Thanos, I'm not sure I'd go for X23 unless you really like Destroy. But I think that like that 12,000 tokens worth is worth it. I don't think you keep opening for Echo at all, by the way. I think Echo is just fine and not a necessity. All right, that's it for today. Bye, Elsa. Open Thanos. Thank you so much for watching Snap Take. We appreciate you. Hit that sub button. We'll see you tomorrow for another video. Peace.